alcohol.
Correct.
And
Correct.
with all the stories that you heard, it you still kind of drew into it regardless.
Oh, it gets better.
Yeah, I bet it will. Because like for example,
So that's the irony of the disease. Like the knowledge means nothing. I mean, knowledge is power, but when it comes to addiction, nothing.
that's
Nothing.
crazy because like for example, when I was growing up, you knew who I was around most of the times, and all of them were older than me by 2, 3, 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, I would learn from their mistakes. Like they fucked up doing this, talking to 3, 4 girls at the same time or whatever. I learned from those mistakes, and I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm gonna talk to these 3, 4 girls differently. I'm not gonna do it that way. And you didn't. I guess because you were still young too, so your mind was still maturing at the time and stuff. You probably ignored a lot of the stories.
Oh no.
Is
Actually,
there is
that's
there
part of my. Go
yeah?
ahead.
Is there a
What?
story that like you can remember that was like, holy shit, what type of fucking story is this?
Yes. So there was so growing up, I'm going to meetings in the 80s and the 90s. This is
Yeah,
when crack is coming out.
yeah,
People getting AIDS, they're shooting dope.
yep.
Like there's a
It,
lot of crime. All the
it,
meetings were in Washington Heights and Inwood. They're selling drugs outside the meeting. Like
yes.
it was crazy during that time.
Yeah, during that time, the heroin got out of the way, but coke and crack started
Mm-hmm.
blossoming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of stories. But one that caught my eye, my mother took in so this is another part that's important. My parents helped a lot of people get sober,
That's
but
great news.
that's great. But with that,
Yes.
me and my nephew saw a lot of people getting sober, meaning detoxing and acting irrational and crazy. Like they would detox in the basement of my apartment. Like,
That must have been
um,
horrible to see.
I mean,
And
it
you
was
and you
normal.
probably was hands on too, probably
Oh
helping and
yeah.
assisting. Like
Oh,
you wasn't
donuts
just
and
watching.
coffee
Yeah.
and the vomiting bag. Yeah, no, I was in it.
Bro, that's disgusting.
I was in it. I was in it.
And you're too
But
young to be doing that shit.
of so again, my parents grew up in sobriety.
No,
So
I
they
know. I'm
no, I
just
know, but their mentality was like, oh, we're doing the right thing, not understanding what you're doing to your kids. It was, and listen, that was part of my resentment and a part of the reason why I messed up a lot of my life. But now I'm over that. That's when we'll get to the 12 steps. I'll tell you a little bit about how
yeah,
that
yeah. We'll
transforms
definitely
your
get into
life.
that.
Um, so my mother took on this girl as a sponsee, and so she was taking her and helping her out and everything. And the girl and would hang out with me. She was only 10 years older than me, so I was 12 and she was 22,
Mhm.
and she was sober. But then I would go to her house and she would show me where she hid the vodka bottles. They'd be hidden in the bookshelf.
Mhm.
And she was married and she got pregnant, and my mother became the godmother to her kid,
Mhm.
and she went out on a bender and she sold the baby for crack.
No way. You know something that's crazy because people think that that's bullshit because it's in movies. That stuff like that can't happen. But that shit happened a lot, especially in our neighborhood. You
Yep.
know?
Yep. It took 2 weeks for her husband to find the baby. They found the baby, thank God, in time. But you said what kind of crazy stories? Those are the kind of stories. Like I was sitting in the room one day and um this woman was talking about her daughter that tried to commit suicide, and she jumped off the sixth floor roof and survived. So she lived her
Oh,
life with all broken
oh,
bones,
that's
wheelchair
the
bound.
worst when you fail at something.
Yep.
Couldn't even do that right. And how do you do that wrong? It's 6 flights.
Yeah. Well, when it ain't your time, it ain't your time,
I
right?
guess
Like,
so. That's I like to know what God had a purpose for her because she really couldn't do anything after that.
but she got sober and came to meetings and told her story.
Wow,
So
that's
talk about
crazy.
transformative. Even though if you look at her, you see pain and suffering, you also see survival. So I heard stories like that. Now let me tell you how a lot of this fed my disease. So
Go
I
ahead.
used to look around the room as a little girl and be like, "Oh my god, these people are scary. They're disgusting." Like I was the little girl that like at the time you could smoke in meetings. I would give out the little McDonald's ashtrays to everyone. I would
I
hand out the cookies. I
I
would do
miss
all
those
this stuff.
times, man. I miss those times when we could smoke indoors, man. I do.
Ditto. Ditto. Although I still smoke, which is a one of my vices, but I don't like to smoke in the house because it reeks. But
Uh,
anyway, um, that being said, I would compare and be like, I will never do drugs because the drug story scared me. And my
hmm
sister getting addicted to drugs and dying of AIDS, and all the people that she got high with died of AIDS. I was like, I will never, ever, ever do drugs. So I didn't.
hmm
I mean, I smoked pot here and there. I did a little bit of ecstasy, but I never, ever to this day, ever picked up cocaine, heroin, any of that
hmm
because I was scared. So I thought, well, if I drink alcohol, I'll be all right because I know enough about AA that I'm not going to be addicted. And a little bit more of a backstory, when my sister was dying, they sent the visiting nurse service to our house and they gave us a social worker. And that was the only person that I was able to be honest with because she was confidential. And she made such a profound effect in my life that I said, I'm going to be a social worker. And I started volunteering doing this kind of work from the age of 15 all the way to now
That's
because of that
that's
woman.
that's amazing. Curious to know. Did you ever bump into that lady after the fact, like when you became a social
No,
worker, just to tell her thank you?
no, I wish I did. However, there was another woman that she wasn't, I don't know if she was a social worker, but she ran um, this program for us. It was all for kids that had family members that had AIDS, and they would pick us up and take us to like Evander Child's High School on Saturday, and we would like play games. We would go on trips, but we were also, if we got chosen, we were part of Mount Sinai Adolescent Clinic,
hmm
a teen like we would go to different high schools and perform skits on like safe sex, domestic violence, AIDS prevention, alcohol and drugs. But I was already started drinking at this time. So when my sister died, my first reaction the same night, I went across the street to PS7. Well, first of all, I went on to your block on 233rd when there used to be that bodega right next to your building.
Yeah, and don't tell me you went to the back alley.
No, I stole the 64 ounce of OE.
Oh, okay.
And this is my first drink, and I
Yeah.
ran up the hill. I met with a friend. We went behind PS7 to the back of
Okay.
the.
Mhm.
I guzzled the 40, even though all the knowledge, all the everything. I immediately became a different person. Once the drink was gone, I smashed the bottle. I was trying to hurt my friend, like I wanted to cut her. Like all the emotions I was feeling from my sister's death came out
So,
in as rage
so you became an angry drunk on that first
immediately
one.
on that first
Wow.
one.
It's crazy because like when I was young, I mean, I started tasting alcohol. I I like to say around 8 years old.
Hmm.
My stepfather would have bottles of bourbons, whiskeys, all this stuff, right? So I would make like these slushies with,
Hmm.
and then I would some of it I would put in ice cubes and ice it, and then the others I would drink. And
Hmm.
he wouldn't, since he didn't really drink, he wouldn't really notice it. But
Hmm.
there were times when he looked at the bottles like, and he knew it was me. It's like, yo, you need to stop drinking my shit. Like, what the hell are you doing? You're too young for this shit. You know what I'm saying? So, and and I remember like, behind my building, that back alley, that was the spot for everyone to go drink.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
as with PS7 was a spot too. Eventually, after the back alley became an issue for some of the neighbors. So
Hmm. Hmm. And
yeah,
then PS7 in the mid 90s was where everyone smoked and drank.
yeah,
And then
and
the
then
50 would drive up and
yeah,
go to the back.
and then eventually it became Van Cortlandt.
That yes, or Seaton up in
Yeah,
Riverdale.
actually, something, I never really did the Seaton thing. I always went to the Van Cortlandt one. I never made it to Seaton.
The one place that you could drink was 225, right on 232nd, right in front of that building. Nobody bothered you.
Oh yeah, I never did that.
Oh, really?
Not there. No, 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 no. I mean,
Or the 231st steps.
yes, yes, yes. I would, but then there were too many cops there.
There was a lot of cops, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And the 50, there were a bunch of fucking racist pigs over there in that neighborhood. So
They
they would,
definitely were.
yeah. So, but okay. So you've already had your first drink, became